Hey friends, Sheila here. I am a holistic nutritionist and bicycle traveler. I believe in gentle nutrition, intuitive exercise, and just staying curious and figuring out what works for your unique needs. This is part 2 of 2 discussing what I look for in energy bars for endurance activities. So things like running, hiking, cycling, or bike touring. In last week's video, we discussed the 3 key aspects I look for as a nutritionist when selecting an energy bar for my endurance activities. So if you haven't watched that yet, I will link above and below. Give it a little watch because it'll give you more context, because today we're going to be looking more specifically at these 5 popular bars and the pros and cons of each. The 5 bars we'll be looking at today are Larabar, Simply Protein, Kind, Clif, and Quest. Now they all have a variety of flavors, so the nutritionals will vary slightly depending on the flavor you choose. I just picked the ones I wanted to eat. Before we dig in, just a quick disclaimer that this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your doctor or healthcare provider on your unique needs. Today, I'll be going through what I look for as a nutritionist when selecting the right bar. So even if you don't have access to these particular bars, you'll still pick up some great info for the next time that you are at the store looking for the right energy bar for you. Bar number 1 is Larabar. What I love about Larabar is that they have a lot of different flavors and they use very simple whole ingredients. So this bar has 6 ingredients, but there are many bars that have even fewer ingredients. There are a nice amount of carbohydrates coming from the maple syrup and the chocolate chips, which is great. It's gonna be really energizing. The one downside is that because Larabar usually relies on nuts, they tend to be higher in fat. So I prefer them for a low intensity activity, something like hiking or a light bike ride, just to prevent any potential digestive issues from digesting the fat while exercising. There's only 1 milligram of sodium, so depending on how much you are exercising and sweating, you may need some salt supplementation as well. There's no great volume of additional vitamins or minerals mentioned. Overall though, it's a nice whole foods based bar. There's no preservatives, there's a high amount of carbohydrates, and it also happens to be vegan and gluten-free if you happen to have any dietary requirements. So that's a little summary of Larabar. Now we taste test. I could say this is for your learning, but it's mostly for me. And this way you get to see what it looks like. It's a nice dense bar, which makes it very easy to kind of cut up and eat throughout your ride or walk or run. And it's delicious. Simple ingredients, easy to eat. It's a great bar. Thumbs up. Bar number 2 is Simply Protein. Now it's only 150 calories, so it's on the lower end of filling. As expected, given the name, this is more of a protein-focused bar. This could be a good post-workout bar, but I wouldn't be as keen on it during endurance activities. There's some iron, calcium, and sodium to top up your stores. In terms of ingredients, it uses more extract than I'm totally crazy about. So it uses soy protein isolate as its source of protein. It is going to be non-GMO in this case, which is good. Then it also uses things like chicory root fiber, vegetable glycerin, and tapioca starch. None of these ingredients are necessarily inherently bad. I just prefer to go for a more whole foods based bar if I'm going to be consuming it regularly. They also have gluten-free and vegan options. Taste test time. If you look at it, it kind of looks like a Rice Krispie bar. My feedback on it would be that because it has the puffs to it, it has a very kind of light, airy quality that just doesn't feel quite as satiating. So personally, I prefer the density of the Larabar, but everybody's different. It's light, but very yummy. Bar number 3 is Kind. This is another nice primarily whole foods based bar. The fact that it has equal parts carbohydrates and fats versus the high carbohydrate and lower fat I mentioned I prefer, I would say that this bar would be better for a lower intensity activity, again, like hiking or like an easy bike ride. You could try it during more high intensity activity, but just pay attention if you're having any digestive issues. There's a small amount of calcium, iron, and sodium, nothing significant, but still nice to have. Part of the sweetness comes from glucose syrup, which I'm not as keen on. I do prefer using honey or maple syrup or dates, but still, on the whole, this bar has some nice, simple ingredients. Let's open her up. As you can see, it's all whole pieces. Although it's fairly sticky and sticks together well, the hard thing I find with bars like this that have whole pieces is if you're eating them while you're doing something like cycling or bike touring, they can kind of fall apart. It can be a little harder to eat. You might lose parts of your bar. And again, like we discussed in part 1, our digestion isn't working as optimally during exercise. So if we don't chew a bar like this really carefully, our digestion is going to have more work to do to get those nutrients out. So it could take longer. You might have some digestive issues, so just something to consider. Super yummy and flavorful. It wouldn't be my first choice based on the nutrition breakdown, but it's still pretty delicious. I'm not gonna lie, friends, I think this is my favorite video I've ever filmed because I get snacks. Next up, we have Clif. In terms of ingredients, it's not quite as whole foods based as something like a Larabar, but the nutrition and nutrient breakdown for exercise is quite good. It has a high concentration of sugar, so it's going to be a great source of fuel. One of its sweeteners is cane sugar, which again, if I'm consuming regularly, I do prefer going for honey or maple syrup or dates, but still, on the whole, the nutrition breakdown is really on point for this bar. It's high carbohydrates, lower protein and fat, so going to be really good for our endurance needs. In part 1, I mentioned that a lot of those vitamins and minerals we want to look for in our bars, we won't be able to see them on the label, but Clif actually adds vitamins and minerals to their bars and lists what they're adding. So we're going to be getting some B vitamins, magnesium, antioxidants. These are all things our bodies can really use when we're engaging in endurance activities. Overall, I would say even though it uses some slightly more processed ingredients, I would say the Clif bar hits our nutrition needs for endurance most closely. I already know I'm gonna love this one because their white chocolate macadamia in that is my favorite. I ate too fast, I forgot to show you. I got too excited. So like the Larabar, it's nicely mashed up and broken down, so you don't have to worry about losing any pieces of it on your bike ride or run or hike. And it's also really sticky, so you can even cut it up into little pieces to enjoy along the way. I'm a fan. Now, as a sneaky little aside, if you want to achieve the nutrient breakdown of Clif, but with more natural ingredients, stay tuned to the end of this video. Our final bar is Quest. Now, like Simply Protein, this is designed to be more of a protein bar. As its sweeteners, it actually uses erythritol and stevia, which are designed to not spike blood sugar. This bar, from what I can gather, is designed more to have a higher quantity of fat and a lower amount of sugar, so it's actually using erythritol and stevia. These are two sweeteners that don't have the same effect on blood sugar as other sweeteners. But when we're doing endurance activities, we want that sugar. That's what's going to give us fuel. So I'm not as keen on the macronutrient ratio here, and I'm not as keen on the sources of sweetener. Also, this bar uses a milk protein blend. Dairy is one of the most common allergens, and a lot of people who aren't allergic to milk can also have dairy intolerances. They can have digestive issues related to dairy consumption. So that can lead to things like bloating, cramping, gas. But then again, people can also have soy sensitivities, and a lot of these bars have soy. So again, it always depends on you and your unique needs. Let's try it. It's so cute. It looks like a little chocolate bar. I really like the sticky consistency, again, because I love cutting up my bars so I can snack on them while I'm on the go. It really tastes like a chocolate bar. Overall, I'm not as keen on this bar for endurance activities. Granted, I don't think it's designed for endurance activities. It's designed to be more of a protein bar. So I would steer towards a bar that has a higher ratio of carbohydrates and more simple, less processed ingredients if I'm consuming it on a regular basis or endurance activities. So those are our 5 bars. In conclusion, as a nutritionist and just for me personally, I tend to turn to Larabar and Clif most regularly. Larabar more so for a hike or walk, and Clif more so for cycling or bike touring. But here's where the sneaky little bonus comes in, because I often rely on my own homemade energy bites. And I made a video sharing that recipe, which you can check out, a link above and below. I designed my bites to have a very similar nutrient breakdown to Clif bars. They're high in carbohydrates, they're lower in protein and fats. I use natural sweeteners, which I love, and I use whole ingredients. There's no added vitamins and minerals like you can find in some bars like the Clif bars, but they do use whole ingredients like walnuts, hemp seeds that have vitamins and minerals to them. Now, they take some prep time, so they don't always fit the need, but they are my favorite when I have the time, and when I don't, I turn to a handy bar. As you're selecting your energy bars, something to keep in mind is variety. Variety is a great way to ensure your body is getting a wider range of ingredients and nutrients, and it also helps to ensure that you don't get bored with your snack and end up not eating enough during your activity. Getting enough food in you during endurance exercise is most important, and so choosing bars that you genuinely enjoy is key. If there are other bars you want me to review, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you got some helpful little tidbits from this video, please give it a like, really supports my channel. If you want to be notified whenever I put out new videos, you can hit subscribe and the little bell below. And if you want tips and tricks and adventures more regularly, you can follow me on Instagram at Sheelagh.Daly. Thanks, have a good one.